watch the news lately, and I see all these people on the right, as hosts of shows, politicians defending NSA data collection programs for our phone records. And I think to myself, are we that lost? Have we lost sight of what should be important to our country to the point where we think that there's any time that's acceptable to violate the Constitution, that we think that there is any point where that's okay? It's never okay. You can't compromise your beliefs. You can't pick and choose when you apply your ideals. You can't say, well, okay, now we shouldn't, here we should. You have to apply them evenly. It's part of having a consistent set of beliefs and consistent principles, and having the foundations for everything you believe be congruent. I mean, otherwise, if what you believe and your foundations for your principles aren't congruent, are they really principles? Are they really ideals? Are they really truth? If truth is truth, you can't substitute it for anything else. If the Constitution is truth and we find it as our sacred founding document, how can you ever justify compromising it? How could you ever justify that? See, when I hear the word compromise, I especially compromise, I don't think of, making a deal with somebody. I think of like a position on a battlefield. It's been compromised. It's weakened. Whenever you compromise, you give up ground, and you take that position that you're holding on the battleground of life and politics, and you're compromising it. It means that you're weakening it. You're giving it a flaw. You're taking a point of its strength, and you're undermining it. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, these politicians, I see them out there defending this data program. Well, it helps helps to protect us and defend us from terror. It didn't stop Boston, though, did it? No, it didn't. You can never compromise the Constitution. You can never violate the due process rights of people like the NDAA Act does. I don't care if Anwar al-Awlaki was a terrorist. We could have done some kind of proceeding that he had a right to show up to or not, and he didn't show up, or we could have declared him a terrorist, instead of having President Obama press a button. That's not right. It's not constitutional. Never was, never will be. The Constitution is some document that was formed hundreds of years ago that no longer applies today. It applies today as much as it did then. It's based on principles that our founding fathers read and pondered on for years. And these are principles that are timeless, that go back for thousands of years. They read Montesquieu, they read full ancient philosophers from the city-states of Rome and Greece, where freedom was first thought of and first really theorized. The true essence of freedom, at least, what it was to be free. And we have somehow found ways to make exceptions to that. They remind everybody what Ben Franklin said, those who are willing to sacrifice freedom for safety are not deserving of either and will eventually lose both. He said that many different times, many different ways, but that was the essence of that. Was that, if you believe that you can give up some of your freedom for a little bit of safety, you've compromised, something that, cannot be weakened. I mean, the document and the way it protects our freedom, the Constitution, is this thing that really is not to be effed with. It's especially the first original ones that they passed, the original 10. Those are the ones that are serious. And when we start talking about messing with those, any one of them, in any way, shape, or form, we have really put a hole in the bottom of our ship, and we're taking on water. And unfortunately, it's one of those things where, you compromise yourself in that position one time, and it opens the door to everything else. And then you're toast. Christians are really guilty of this, and I'm a Christian. We're really, really guilty of trying to legislate our morality. We try to force our beliefs on other people through legislating things like anti-abortion law and stuff like that. And trying to do these kinds of things. But now look at now we opened the door to trying to legislate morality or our opinion, and now look at you. The atheists are using it. The court system, they're using the court system to pull nativity scenes off of corners to censor you now, and to impose their morality on you. And we opened the door to that. Freedom means that sometimes the person next to you does not agree with you. You have to accept that. If you don't, you jeopardize it for all of us. This NSA thing, Greg, gut feel. I love the guy to death. I love his book, The Joy of Hate. It's like, but it's at the same time, I look at him and it's like, it's like, dude, you may have been for this before, and you say, how I got before, now I'm gonna be consistent. But to use an Ayn Rand phrase, check your premise, dude. I still watch your show, I still watch your live, but check your premise. The Constitution is holy, pretty much, in politics, and you can't mess with it. You can't touch it. You can't void part of it out. We made stupid mistakes in our past that we tried to make prohibition happen, which is legislating your morality onto somebody, which is obviously, as I just talked about, wrong. Don't listen, if you're watching out there, to all these politicians saying this is necessary to protect us from terror. It didn't protect us in Boston. And it is only the door to hell. It is Pandora's box. It is the very thing that our founding fathers preached against, that they were worried about, this kind of stuff. The overreach of government. Look at the FISA court last year. The FISA court, which supposedly is what you have to go through to take this phone number and find a phone number that called somebody that's terrorist and opening up the whole record to it. You have to go to the FISA court to get them to approve that. There's 876 applications to the FISA court last year. You know how many were not approved? 0. 876 out of 876 were approved. And like the year before that, it was like a similar, damn near similar. It was like 5 or 6 or some stupid number got not approved out of like that many. If you want to have faith in government, which I think recently it's proved you can't. They say that you could say that well they wouldn't take something that they shouldn't take there anyway. So they just took the stuff that was legitimate to them, and that's why they all got approved. Well, that's trust in government, which is not something you shouldn't do. And our founding fathers said that, and the recent history of our government proves that you shouldn't trust government. You should never trust your government. You should be skeptical. Our founding fathers were government skepticists. They believed in not trusting it, and they believed in whenever you thought there was a problem, investigating it and saying, until then, until we find out, your power's been taken away. Okay, we'll give it back if we feel that you have been using it justly, and only then. That's the kind of people they were. And so you can't assume that this program's only done with good intentions, and they only approved 876 out of 876 because they were all legitimate cases. You can't assume that. You got to remember, the judges for the FISA court are federally appointed judges. Of course, the people in the federal government are going to approve people that they're going to give them what they want. Duh. There's no way that that's acceptable or constitutional. And this right now, there's all these scandals coming out. It's like cloud pivot in action. It's overwhelmed the system. Distract from the real thing, like the IRS targeting people. Distract from Benghazi, 4 people dying over a war we got illegally involved in. Not the president didn't get approval for his covert action after or the beginning of it and start. This is scary. With the dishonest media, how can we expect Congress to actually give proper oversight to all these different scandals? We have a dishonest media misportraying everything, and we're supposed to cover Congress is supposed to oversee and check all these problems. It's like too much for anybody, and we're just being misinformed the whole time throughout the whole thing. It's awesome, It's like, where do we think this is going to end up? If the system's broken, how do we expect to fix the system through the current system? Ask yourself that. I no longer consent because it's broken. It's been broken. How are we going to fix it? With our votes? Fixing a broken system? Through a broken system? I'm not encouraging anything at this point. I'm just saying. Which I guess would encourage the thought. And I'll admit to that. But this ends nowhere good. This is the unraveling of America we're watching. And either people get smart quick, or oppression sets in fast. We already see the beginnings of it. Do we trust our government? I don't think so. They haven't earned it, that's for certain. So I ask you now, why are our politicians supporting this? Now, Lindsey Graham thinks drone strikes are okay and supports the undermining of due process. We have John McCain, who thinks this is necessary to stop terror, wants to get us involved in this mess that Syria is, when we should have gotten involved in the beginning. If we're going to, now we shouldn't, because Islamists are mixed in Al-Qaeda with the rest of them. In fact, we pledged allegiance in all cases. We do not want to listen to this. We don't want to be a part of it. We don't want anything to do with it. We have to get wise real fast. These politicians, they obviously are insane, thinking they can violate the Constitution. You can't ever compromise your beliefs. Otherwise, you do exactly that. You compromise them. You weaken them. You undermine them. America, look at these politicians and see that they're the same. I mean, as they've always been. They're idiots, bent on their own power remaining, and completely willing to sacrifice your freedom as the means to an end. I'm usually a little bit more upbeat or aggressive or angry, but it's hard to be either one of those right now, because I'm sitting here and I just see what's going on and I just think, holy cow, we must be blind. We all truly must be the sheeple if we've let it get this far. Even if we don't agree, it's like we haven't been speaking loud enough. If we don't agree, we need to be speaking louder about how we don't. Because they obviously still think that this is going to keep them getting reelected, because they're still saying it. The UST, the United States of Totalitarianism. Welcome. It's opening its doors right now. You don't have to move a step, you're already inside. So, everybody, check the TV when you watch and look at these people and see what they say. Watch them talk about how this is all for your own good, for the common country's good. Just look at what they say and ask yourself, do you really buy the lie? Didn't protect us from Boston. I mean, what good is this then? I mean, you got this person like Snowden. I hear people calling him a traitor. The fact that I heard somebody said that he's sharing our documents with China. Well, they said I asked him to send me the article, and I still haven't got it yet. I asked for a link to it. And even if there is an article, I want you to remember that what our government is willing to do to people it doesn't agree with. So is this article about him sharing stuff with China, is it the truth? Or is it them trying to paint him as the villain? Because he exposed all this going on. We definitely wanted to know it, right? I mean, that they're collecting our data like this. And you want to trust government? Are we supposed to believe the NSA director saying, well, the people that have control or have access to this information in the program are not in the hundreds, they're in the dozens. So yeah, let's go ahead and trust him. Let's go and trust, I think his name, General Alexander. Let's go ahead and trust him. One of the same group of people that have been lying to us, been investigating us, and are taking our records, have been going after Tea Party patriots. One of these people that have been part of this broken system. Let's go ahead and trust them, because it's gotten us into no trouble before. Right. Take a long, hard look at your government. Take a long, hard look at this country. And then take a long, hard, good look at the founding documents it's based on. Government only governs with the consent of the governed. Do you consent to everything that's going on? And the Declaration also says, is there right, when it's talking about people that are being oppressed, them under the British throne, it is their right and their duty to throw off such government and to make put in place new guards for their future security. I think is what it says. I mean, if I'm off, it's by just some slight verbiage. It's the same exact concept. Their right and duty to throw off such government. Can we change? I mean, we hear some people, some politicians these days saying, maybe we need to save only the Constitution and scrap the rest. And I'm in favor of that, because for 200 plus years, everything after that has been to the end of oppressing man, infringing on his freedom. There is nothing else to it. If you haven't watched my No More Compromise video, go to my YouTube channel. It's Chuck Burns for the USA, and that's the number 4, and there's no spaces in that. And watch No More Compromise. I say the current edifice of corruption is cemented in place by 200 years of regulation, taxation, code, laws. This whole thing, this government, their analogy I make is it's like a house. The government our founding fathers intended was small. It's a 2-story house in the scheme of buildings. We're going to make this comparison. And what has happened is we've taken this foundation that had originally a 2-story house on it. That's what our founding fathers intended, a small government. It's a 2-story house kind of thing compared to skyscrapers. But we've built a skyscraper on top of this 2-story house. We built it to 100-story tall. The edifice of corruption. But that weight, that overbearing reach that it has, and that shadow that it casts, has crumbled those footings that 2-story house was built on. And we've, through the years, tried to do things to, patch it, keep it maintained, keep this thing going on. But look where we're at now. Those documents that are the foundation of that originally small intended government, that 2-story house, are completely corrupted. I mean, the NSA going after your records, due process being violated, the Second Amendment, and all the gun laws that they've passed are going to infringe on our right to protect ourselves from our own government. Those footings, those foundational footings, have crumbled and are nothing. We see dust where they once were. That reminds us of them, what they once meant. Truly, this is the brave new world that some authors have spoken of. Truly, this is Teotihuacan. For those of you who know what that means, impressive. Not many people are familiar with that. I guess in this circle, the Libertarian Republican, might be more familiar, but 1984, basically. Welcome to it. The Constitution is meaningless. We protect you and do these things for your own safety. And when asked to justify ourselves, we plead the 5th. We get paid vacations, basically. I hope we wake up. I hope for my own sake, because if it starts going the way it looks like it could go, I'm going to be a dead man fast, because I won't stand for it. They've turned rights into crimes, and they've taken your privileges. They've taken your rights and turned them into privileges. Privilege to own a gun if they say it's okay. The privilege to drive a car. Your own property on roads you pay for it if they say it's okay. And more than that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for giving me your time, because I can't give it back. So thanks for spending it with me. But we are at the cusp of a new world. And we can renew our founding principles, demand them to be put back in place, and demand these idiot politicians be respectful of those principles and those rights that we have, and say and admit and take a pledge they will not violate those no matter what the circumstance. Again, I will say, Those who are willing to trade safety or freedom for safety are deserving of neither and will eventually lose both. Thank you, guys.